Perfect. Okay, so once again, here we are. We are at this on page 55. It says we are going to be taking the time to set up our chart of accounts. So we went through step 1, which is figuring out our start date, right? Whether we're choosing to do fiscal year or calendar year, and also, think about which exact date we're going to start. Then we did step 2, which is to create our company file, and now we are here on step 3 where we're going to start taking a look at our chart of accounts and setting it up. So first thing first, here says that in this box says that we need to open up or restore our setup 18 QBM portable file. Okay, now as I've mentioned before, right, the portable files are very significant because they help you do the exercises in the book. Okay, they're pre-made they're pre-made company files that are set up that have all the information that you need. All you're doing is you're just practicing entering in the transaction. So if you haven't downloaded those, that's definitely something you need to do in order for you to have access to or the stuff that we're doing. Okay, so every beginning of every single chapter, you're going to notice at the very beginning, before the chapter starts, it's going to tell you that you need to restore a specific file. Okay, in this case, it's asking me to do setup 18. Okay, and this is how you do it. So once again, this is a review from yesterday. So here we're at the home page, right? The gray screen, and this is what we can see. Now notice this, I have a bunch of working data files that I've used from previous times that I've opened QuickBooks. You can use these as quick links if you want to. So the first thing you see is a Photo Academy Photography, which is the company I just created. But I want to open and restore a portable existing file. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to go ahead and click on this open restore an existing file. Now, if you guys remember, it gives you 3 options. Okay? We definitely don't want to open an existing file. We don't want to open a backup. We want to open a portable file, right? So all the files that you've downloaded, the student portable files, they're all portable files. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and click next. So now I'm going to go ahead and locate where I actually downloaded all of those files. So in this case, if you guys remember, I've already created the file, the folder for you guys. So I'm going to go to my accounting QuickBooks portable files. And this time I'm going to go ahead and click on this one. So once again, all portable files will remain as a portable file. So you cannot update a portable file. Okay? So all these things that you see here were from the beginning where we started way back when I started teaching QuickBooks, okay? These files will never change until you create another portable file. So that's the thing about you need to know is that all portable files will not be changed unless you create another portable file with the saved changes. So I'm going to go ahead and locate, I believe it's setup 18. Here it is. All right, I'm going to double click on it. Now it's going to ask me, where would I like to save the data, working data file? So what it's now taking is it's taking that portable data file and it's opening, expanding, and creating a brand new working data file. So that's the cool thing about the QuickBooks, right? So it's not going to be utilizing the actual portable file. It's essentially creating a new working data file. So I'm going to go ahead and go to that same folder in QuickBooks, right? Under portable files. And I'm going to save it into your class real quick. So once I double click on it, you could see that my Academy Photography is already in here. This is my company data file. Now I'm going to do setup 18 as another working data file. So once I've done that, then you're going to get this little bar right here. This is where it's converting, opening, and creating the file. Okay, so it does this, once again, this is very heavily reliant on how fast your computer is, but also how fast the internet is. So once again, you absolutely need to have QuickBooks to be connected to the internet, and you need some kind of fast processing system. So as you can see, it's going by really quick. All right, so there you go. Now that it's converted it into QuickBooks. Now here's one thing that you're going to be noticing. It's going to ask you this for a password. Everywhere you go or in your book, it will always give you, it will tell you the specific directions. It will tell you to open up this specific portable file, and this is the password. So for this book, it's going to be Sleater 18 for all the portable files. It's going to be capital S, Leeter 18. All right. Make sure you check if your cap locks are on, because if they are on, then the password will not go. So for me, I do actually have my cap locks on. So I need to go ahead and make sure I turn that off, and then type in my password once again. So Sleater 18, and then I'm going to click OK. So now, because again, all this information, every QuickBooks is going to have sensible data. Okay, so now it's going to ask me to update my file. Now, I am using QuickBooks Pro 2019. That is a whole generation above 2018. You guys are going to get the account to 2018, so you may or may not have to update your QuickBooks. But if it does ask you to do it, go ahead and just click on Update Now. Because definitely for me, it's because I'm working on a 2018. I need to make it so that it's compatible with the 2019. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and Update Now. And that's usually, you're going to wait till the QuickBooks file is completely updated, and then we'll go ahead and proceed from there. Okay, so again, this is also heavily reliant on your internet as well, okay, because it's pulling the internet to go ahead and update the file for you. All right, so once it goes to 100%, all right, it should give you a message saying that it has been successfully updated. Okay, and then we're just going to click Done. Now once I do that, sometimes you'll get this message, sometimes you won't. It just depends on the computer that you're using. For instance, for mine, I've been using QuickBooks for quite some time, if you guys remember. So once again, here is, it tells me to log into my Intuit account. You can actually ignore this. It doesn't really matter whether you sign in or not. The only reason why they do that is because this is actually on a computer that I did not register this one in. Actually, I think I did for this one. But so it's always asking me to verify my username and password. In this case, you can always cancel that out. Now, what you're going to notice is that if you update your files, you're going to see these yellow bars that appear everywhere. That just pretty much tells you what's different between or what the updated version did to this actual file. So most cases I just ignore them. They go away after you click away from things, but there you go. Now I have my company file opened, and that's how you open it. Now, one thing that you should have, if you are creating your working data file, I say general rule of thumb is you should definitely place it somewhere on your computer. Because, I mean, you can save it to your flash drive, but once again, a working data file is 10 times as heavy than a portable file, okay? And the one thing that you have to know is that, you know, if you don't have enough space on your flash drive, you definitely want to make sure that you just place it onto your computer. Now, be aware, because every time you save it on your computer, you have to also make sure that you keep an eye on how much memory you have. Now, before we go on and forth, right, let's go ahead and see my product information. Okay, do you guys remember what key that was? F2. There you go. Now let's take a look at this, right? This is my personal QuickBooks account. As you can see, it says my product that I'm using is the QuickBooks Desktop Pro 2019. I'm still using the very first release. So that means I've had absolutely no issues with QuickBooks. Okay, it works to the point where I don't need to update it for any reason. Okay, I'm still on the first one out of 22 releases. So that means, of course, I've had this since September 20th, 2019. So I've had it for quite some time. And what you're going to notice is that from the very beginning, when I didn't have my company file opened, the whole bottom portion was empty. So by taking a look at this, I opened up my file, right? It's going to give me my information on the actual file I've opened, my current file that I opened. Here, I have information such as how many names do I have? I have a total of 43 names. It even tells you you have 22 customers, 19 vendors, and 2 employees. Okay? It gives you a total of 67 accounts. Okay? So basically, it gives you a synopsis or details about your current file. Okay, this is very important because it keeps you intact, right, of how many items that you've used, how many things you've created, right? The most important thing is how many names or lists did you guys use. In this case, I've only used 43. Okay? It also gives you a little information such as what are the things that you've done, etc., etc. So that's what's cool about using the F2 key function. It isn't just only knowing your product information. It lets you give you an overview of your exact company file that you currently have open. So that means if I open up Academy Photography, this whole thing's gonna be blank. Okay, so once again, this gives you not only details on just your product yourself, it gives you details on the current data working file that you're on right now. Okay, so that's what's cool about that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click the X button. Right, so now it says, going back to the book, okay, now it says this. Okay, now here's a few little quick note that I want you to know. Okay, so the question is, why did I have to go through all that measures to just open up a portable file? Why can't I just go to my Windows, right? So I'm going to go to my folder real quick, and I'm going to locate my portable files, right? LVPTA, accounting, QuickBooks, the portable files, which is this one, right? And I'm going to go ahead and click on the portable files. Why can't I just click directly from here, right? If I click directly from here, I'm going to get an error message saying that it cannot open. Why is that? So that is definitely the thing that you need to know, is that you cannot access any of your QuickBooks files unless you have the program up and running. All right? The only way to open any file is through the QuickBooks application. So you may download all the portable files, but you can't access any of them. It will give you that error message saying that this is an incompatible thing. You can't open it through this way. So the only way that you can open it is through the file and open the company file. Okay? Because two things. One, it carries secure information. Second, it requires a password that you have to use. So all of these are password protected. So that's one of the reasons why if you just double click on it, it will not access the file, because you need to take the proper measurements. And on top of that, these are all portable files. We don't need them anymore. Once you've opened a portable file, what's going to happen? It's going to create a working data file. So as you can see, I'm here in my the class that we've created. Boom, setup 18. Once you've accessed your portable file and you've expanded it and opened it, it's no longer a portable file anymore. It's now a working data file. So at that point, there's the purpose of having a portable data file is just simply to just transfer information over. That's it. It's basically putting it in a box and shipping it to you, and then you open up the box and then you have your stuff, right? That's essentially the same thing. That's all that portable file is. It's just a compressed version of this. It's a copy of this, and once you open it, it creates a brand new working data file automatically. Well, when you open it. So that is the few key factors that you should know when it comes into opening your portable files, because you cannot access them unless you have the program. All right, any questions in regards to that? So that's definitely something that you should know, rule of thumb. So next is we're going to talk about our account types. So if you remember our lesson from yesterday, there are a total of 5 account types, okay? You got your assets, which is everything that you own, okay? Whether it's your, whether it's your money, your inventory, your fixed assets like machinery, buildings, furniture, to intangible assets such as your copyrights, licenses, patents. All of those are going to be your everything that you own. You have your liabilities. Your liabilities are going to be everything that you owe to other people, whether it's owing somebody on an account, a credit card company, or even a bank loan, a business loan. People that you owe. You're going to also notice that you're going to be owing sales tax, right? Because you're collecting that from your customers to pay for the government, to pay to the government. Okay? Equity is going to be your overall standing point of your company. What's the value of your company? Okay? And you have your income, which is how do you generate your revenues? How do you generate money for your company? And then lastly, your expenses, which is going to be anything that you need to encounter, payments that you need to make, things to operate your business is going to be your expenses. Okay? So once again, there's only 5 and 5 only. Now, in QuickBooks, let's go ahead and take a look at our chart of accounts. Let's go ahead and take a look at our chart of accounts. So here it says to take a look at a chart of accounts. So there's exactly 3 ways you could take a look at your chart of accounts. Okay? Obviously, the very first one, as we notice here on our home page, you have the chart of accounts icon underneath your company section. Okay? You also can take a look at your chart of accounts under your lists. Okay? Lists will give you the option to take a look at your chart of accounts. First thing that you see, chart of accounts. It's also located, once again, in your company menu bar. You can locate your chart of accounts right here. Okay? Those are 3 ways that you can access your chart of accounts. Okay? 3 ways. Lists on the menu bar, company on the menu bar, or you can access it on your home page right there under company. Okay? You can customize your icon bar to have your chart of accounts, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. But it is generally when you set up your chart, when you set up your company file, it's not automatically on your icon bar unless you customize it. Okay? So the question is, it isn't based on customization, it's based on what are the default settings. So in this case, it's defaulted in list on the menu bar. It's defaulted under company, okay, on the menu bar, and it's defaulted on your home page. Okay? So when I click on that, you're going to notice a few things. You're going to notice all of your accounts names are here. And once again, I've mentioned this before, so I'm going to repeat it. Your chart of accounts is going to be in order based on account type. So let's take a look. We have your assets all at the top. You have your liabilities next, then your equity accounts, then your income accounts. Okay, well, right here, income accounts, and then you have all of your expenses afterwards. Okay, and you're gonna notice that what we're gonna have is called sub accounts. So basically, what sub accounts are is that I'm sorry, not sub accounts, subtypes. Subtypes break down the actual main account or main type. So if we have assets, right, and we learn this under in accounting that you have categories. Your categories are going to be considered your subtypes. So in QuickBooks, you can actually customize your subtypes. You can have about 5 in each one. All right, and we'll learn more about that in chapter and tomorrow. But in this case, what's defaulted is that when we learn in accounting, you're going to have your current assets, your fixed assets, which is anything that you anything that you own, and then you have your other assets. Other assets are going to be your intangibles. Okay? And then you have current liabilities, so anything that you owe within a year. And then you have your long-term liabilities, anything that you owe more than a year. And then you have your main core operating income and other income. Same thing with the expenses, right? You have your main one, which is cost of goods sold, which is directly correlated to your inventory. And then you have your operating expense and you have your non-operating expense. Now notice this at the very, very bottom of your chart of accounts, you also have non-posting entries. And we'll talk more about this in chapter 13. Okay. So once we have those account types established, right? Now, the idea here is that we need to take a look at this chart of accounts. Now, notice this. It may be in order by account type, but this one doesn't show any account numbers. Now, once again, I'm going to tell you this. You are not obligated to have to use account numbers because QuickBooks makes it so easy for you that you're able to type in something and it will automatically fill in for you. So do you need account numbers? No. Now, for some people, okay, using account numbers makes it a lot more easier to do your transactions, right? Instead of memorizing the account that you do have, memorizing a simple 5-digit code is much easier. Okay? And yeah, so by doing that now, in this case, I don't have my account numbers. And it's not mandated to have account numbers. But if you want to use account numbers, that's where you're going to have to actually toggle in your settings. So first thing that we're going to take a look at is let's go ahead and add account numbers because I like to use account numbers. So how do you do that? We're going to go to Edit on the menu bar, and we're going to click Preferences. Okay? So again, Edit on the menu bar, Preferences. Then here are what's called your company preferences. And we'll talk more in depth with this in Chapter 7 on what the difference between the preferences are. Okay? And what you can do with these preferences. But for now, we're just looking for one thing, and that is to turn on account numbers. So if I go ahead and click accounting, right? Okay, and I click on company preferences, first thing I see is use account numbers. So if I go ahead and click on that, and I'm going to click OK, right? What you're going to notice is look at your chart of accounts now. You are introduced with the account numbers. Now, notice this. Your account numbers are going to create some kind of systematic way for you to keep your chart of accounts even more organized. However, your chart of accounts can always consistently grow. It will always change. So, therefore, as you go through this and you are using some account numbers, you definitely want to make sure that you assign an account number if you are going to be using this. Now, if you're the one that's assigning the account number, one thing must hold true. No matter how hard you try to do this, your information will always be organized based on account type. So if you notice this, right? Let's say I want to organize my information based on my account balance, right? If I were to click this, okay, all my account balance is at the top, right? And then look, no matter where I'm at, my bank account is still going to always be at the very top. And let's say if I want my account names to be in alphabetical order, right? I click on the name. There, it's in alphabetical order. However, notice this. Okay, so now it's backwards. So let's there. Notice this. So checking, M, then S, right? And then it goes journal, accounting, and all this, right? It's still in order based on account type. Even if I were to organize based by account number, right? If I want my number to go first, right? If I click on this, I want my number to go first. It's always going to be in order based on account type. So no matter what it is, your chart accounts will always be organized based on account type. Okay? Even if we decide to kind of want to move our accounts around, which we'll talk about in a few seconds, okay, in a few minutes. Okay? So that's the first thing you need to know is no matter what we're looking at when you create your chart of accounts, it will always be organized based on account type. Your assets are going to always go first. Your liabilities will come next. Equity comes after. Income, and then your expenses. Okay? So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the rest of this the rest of creating and managing your chart of accounts. So first thing we're going to take a look at is how to add a chart, an account, okay? So pretty straightforward as long as you know how to access your chart of accounts. So there's 3 ways to access the chart of accounts. Here, it only tells you one way, okay? So first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go down to the very, very bottom. You see this little window here where it says account and it's got a little drop down arrow. If you click on that, first thing you're going to see at the very top of the list is new. Okay, that's how you add a new account. You can also do this as well by just simply right-clicking on the chart of accounts anywhere. So if you're selecting an account, you can click on any one of them and you can create a new account right then and there. Okay, so that's 2 ways that you can do it. But they generally tell you, right? They said that, so this is a quick, easy way to do it, so you could do that as well. But let's go ahead and do what the book says. So you're going to click on that accountant button down at the window, and you're going to click on new. All right? So here, it's going to give you a bunch of options that you can choose from when you're creating your account. Because the first thing it's going to ask you is, well, what account type is this account? Right? That's the most important thing. So it can organize it in your chart of accounts. So in this case, I believe we are making an expense account. Is that correct? I think we're making, let's see, we're making an expense account. And we're going to name this account, let's see. We're going to name this as void. I have no idea. V-O-I-P. Do you see that? V-O-I-P. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And it's going to be an expense account for the telephone expense. Okay. Let me see. Do I want to create that? Not really. But okay, let's go. Actually, I changed my mind. Okay. let's go through this example. So let's go ahead and type this in. So we're going to create an expense account. Okay. Oops. So here, we come here, right? So we're going to create an expense. Oh my gosh, where's my, there you go. We're going to create an expense account. Boom. All right. So therefore we have a list of anything that we want to create the account type for. And if you don't see what you want to create it for, you can always toggle here through the drop down menu and find your category. But in this case, it's going to be an expense. Once you do that, I'm going to go ahead and click the continue button. Okay, so here's the format and how I want it to be. Now, in this case, it's already recognized as an expense account, and it's going to be, what was it? VOIP?
Yes.
Okay, and it's going to ask me that I want to make it as a sub account. So once again, sub account is basically going to be an account that you use underneath a main account. So for example, if I have inventory, right? Inventory is going to be my main account. Now, the specific items that I do sell are going to be like toys, dolls. Example, those are examples of what a sub account would be, right? Is that you already have a main account. And in this case, it was, what was it? Telephone expense?
Yes.
Okay. Was there an account number that was associated to this?
Yes.
What was it?
68180.
Okay. And I believe, what does the description say?
Voice over Internet protocol.
Okay.
Open parent. VOIP. Close parent.
Oh, what was that? Inside?
VO. Capital I. Capital P. Close
Oh.
parent. Those are, just the I and the P is supposed to be capital. But I guess it's okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at this point because it's whatever you put in there.
Yeah.
There you go. And then anything else, I'm just going to go ahead and just click save and close. So once I do that, boom. Now I have the voice, the VOIP. Okay. Pretty straightforward. And it pops up right here exactly where it belongs under expenses.
Yeah.
Okay, pretty straightforward. And here again, so what you notice here is that my main account is my telephone expense. So it fell underneath my main account there. Okay. So it's pretty straightforward. It's very, very easy. There shouldn't be any guess confusions for this, but it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty straightforward. Okay. So the next example I'm going to go ahead and show you is to create a another expense account. In this case, I'm going to actually create another one. So because I need to do it for this example here. So let's go ahead and create another expense account. So how do I do that?
Go to account and
Mm-hmm.
you were there on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Click any button, it'll say new, right?
Yes, if you just click on accountant, it should bring you a drop down menu or drop up menu
Yeah.
and new. You can also right click and new. Okay. So once again, let's go ahead and create another expense account. All right. Let's just for fun. Okay. So there's my expense account and I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Let's go ahead and create this one as entertainment expense. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and indicate this as expenses for entertainment. And it's going to be a main account, so there's nothing that it falls under. Now, account number, I'm just going to make up one. Let's say it's 6432. Okay, and that looks good enough. And I'm going to go ahead and save and create, or save and new. So notice that here it is. It popped up as entertainment expense. It's right there. Usually after you create your new account, it should be the first thing that it highlights. So notice that here it is here for entertainment expense. Beautiful, right? That is how easy it is. You just simply click add, you enter in what the account type is, and then you figure out what the details are in there. So what do you want to name it? What kind of account number is it? Etc., etc. Pretty easy, straightforward. Okay? Now, what if I want to edit the information? Let's say I made a typo under that account. Simple and easy as well, right?
Can you right click?
You can right click on the account and you can edit.
Delete it.
Or you can delete it.
Yeah.
Right? So in this case, if you make a mistake, rule of thumb is you should definitely, so I want the entertainment one. I can definitely edit my information. So if I click on edit, right, it allows me to just basically go back to that page that I just entered in on the information. So in this case, I put in all this. Maybe I can edit the account number. Maybe I made a mistake in the account number. I can make a mistake in the name, or maybe I need to edit the description. However, so that you want to do it, you can do it and save and close. Of course, if you can right click it, you can also be able to do that through the account little drop down menu, right? You have the word edit the account. Okay? So pretty straightforward. All right? Not very hard at all. All right? Any questions in regards to that? Okay? So, I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about 3 things that you need to know, especially when it comes to deleting your accounts. Okay? So there's a few rules here that you can do. Now, if you did end up making a mistake for any reasons, hold on, I'm trying to look for it. If you do end up making a mistake for any reasons, right? Whether you don't need the account anymore, or you accidentally made a typo, etc., right? Or you created the account and then you realize that you don't actually need it anymore. Okay? There are a few rules and guidelines that you can and cannot do. One is that you absolutely cannot delete an account for any reason, because if you have associated that account with any type of transaction, therefore, the minute you remove it, it's going to leave holes into a lot of your transactions. So that is one of the things that you cannot absolutely do. Okay? So the rules here is that if you are trying to remove an account, you have to consider this. When you are deleting an account, the options here is that if the account is completely 100% untouched, meaning there's no account balance, you've never used it before, that is the only occasion that you can delete the actual account. So for example, right, I've created that account, the void IP, right? Since I've never used that before and there's no account balance, I've never used a transaction for it. Therefore, I can go ahead and right click this and I can delete it. Simple as that. Boom. And it's going to give you an error message saying, are you sure you want to delete it? Okay. Boom. Now it's gotten rid of. Now the question is, you can never restore it once you delete it. So if you end up needing that account once again, you're just going to have to recreate a new one. Okay? Now the second rule to this is that if you do have an existing account balance, you absolutely cannot delete it because of the whole idea. If you use the transaction prior, then you're going to end up messing up with a lot of things that are in QuickBooks. Okay, so they usually give you two rules. If you decide that you no longer need it anymore, you can deactivate it, or in this case, inactivate it. Okay, so how do you do that? Pretty easy, right? I can select, let's say for example, I want to do wireless phone, right? If I want to, let's say I don't ever use that anymore, I could go to my account down below at the window, and the first thing, or a couple, just have to look for it. It says make account inactive. Boom. Now it's completely gone away from my chart of accounts. Okay. Let's try another one. Let's say equipment rental. Okay. I haven't rented out equipment in a while. So in this case, I'm going to make this account inactive. And there it disappeared. Okay.
So it'll be the same, like if you have your business and have an employee and they don't work for you anymore, you can just put it inactive.
Yes. Okay. Now that's different than from here. Okay. This is just your chart of accounts. But when we dive into talking about your employees or your customers or your vendors, absolutely. When we talk about that in chapter 4, you're going to notice that when you set up your person, you have a little box that says you can inactivate them. Yes, absolutely. But in this case, I'm just looking at my chart of accounts. So if I'm doing a transaction that I never use anymore,
yeah,
I can actually inactivate them instead of deleting them, right? Because the idea is if you already used it, you never want to delete it. But you don't want to clutter your space anymore. But if you delete it, you're going to have holes in your transaction. You have to go back and fix everything. Now, to save you for a headache, what you can do is if you no longer use it or you just want to hide it from your chart of accounts, you just simply inactivate it. Now, let's take a look. Let's take a look at my list. Where can I find all my inactive accounts? Pretty straightforward, okay? So if you notice, if you look at the bottom section here, you're going to see that you have the account, right? The drop-down menu for the account. If you keep going, you have a little button right here that says include inactive accounts. And if I click on that, boom, what you're going to notice is that the ones that are inactivated have X's on them. Okay? So I have 2 accounts that are inactivated, right? Now, there are 2 ways that you can reactivate them. Let's say you do end up needing them once again. So let's say I end up encountering wireless phones, right? I can simply click on it, right click on it, and I can either make it active again. I can also do that by going down to the account, right? And make it active again. So let's go ahead and do that. So if I click make active again, that X no longer appears. The quick and easy way to activate it once again is just click on that X. And there you go. It activates it once again. So that's the cool thing about QuickBooks is you can hide most of your accounts if you no longer use them again by inactivating and reactivating or deactivating them, however you want to think of it. Okay. So that's really cool about QuickBooks. Okay. But general rule of thumb, that only comes into conclusion when you no longer have use for the account, you use the account, but don't ever use it again, or you want to hide your accounts, or maybe this month I didn't have this account. You can hide as many accounts as you like. Just know that you want to be very careful because in case you're adding new accounts for any reason, right? A new transaction, a new expense appears, and you have to create a new account. You want to ensure that when you do this, right, if you're using account numbers, that you don't utilize the same account number, okay? So that is criteria number 1, okay? If you can't delete it, then you either inactivate them. Okay. Option number 2 is to merge them. Okay. So for example, right, do you remember I just recently just made that entertainment expense account? So as we go through this, right, and we see that there's an account that we need to create that we don't have already existing in our books, right? So you're going to notice this, that as we go through the QuickBooks, you can create accounts as you go. Meaning you're in the middle of an invoice, you can create a new account as you go. You just do what's called a quick add, which we'll talk about in chapter 4. Okay? So in this case, I can add as many accounts as I feel necessary because I don't see that account. All right? I use the fill-in tool. It will not activate, or the account that I'm using, I don't know what the name of it is. So I decided to just create a bunch of accounts. Now, once you've noticed that, and you go back to your chart of accounts and look. So I've created an entertainment expense account. And look, I actually have meals and entertainment. So there you go. I have 2 of the same accounts that are similar, or if not, I have too many uses for them, or they're essentially the same exact account. I just didn't know that I had it, and I named it as meals and entertainment. So what the idea here is, when we're going to realize that we have 2 accounts that do essentially the same thing, right? Because I created an account because I couldn't find it. Then that's where you can shrink up your information by merging these 2 accounts together. Now, how do we do that? Is going to be, so we're going to take a look at the one that we want. Okay, let's take a look. Let's just look at the name and everything for it. So in this case, it's account number 64300. It's also called meals and entertainment. Okay, we need to take a look at this and memorize every detail to it. So in this case, 64300, meals and entertainment. And now we want to merge them together with the entertainment expense, right? Now I got to take a look at the one that I do not want anymore. So in this case, I don't want my entertainment expense because, you already have an account for meals and entertainment. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and I can choose this. I'm going to select the one I don't want, and I'm going to edit the information in the one I do not want. So here, I'm going to edit the account. And what you're going to do is you're going to match it identical to the one that you do want. So in this case, I'm going to make changes here, right? The account that I was looking at is it's now 64300, right? The account name, word for word, you cannot have any spelling errors or else it will not work. Meals and entertainment. Okay? It has to be word for word or it will not work. Okay? And my account number has to be identical if you have account numbers selected. If you don't, the name of the account has to be word for word. Okay? So once that I've recognized that I'm changing the one I don't want to the one I want, I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Close. You will get an error message that says, this account number and account name already exists. Would you like to merge? And in this case, yes. So if you have your sound effects on, you should have got that picture sound, the snapshot sound. So once you get that, notice this. I no longer have an entertainment expense account. All I am left with is meals and entertainment. So therefore, I basically merged the 2 accounts together and now it's existing as one. Okay? Now, a pro for this is it helps you clean up your chart of accounts, and it also automatically updates anything that uses the entertainment expense account to meals and entertainment. Bad thing is that if you're going on 4th, right? you will not be able to tell the difference from when you had your entertainment expense account versus your meals and entertainment account. You will not be able to find any of that information. You're not going to be able to tell the difference of what happened first. Because now QuickBooks had updated everything in your files that use the entertainment expense account and changed them to meals and entertainment. So in this case, you will not be able to know what account came first. All right? The only way to be able to do that is to just be able to look and have access to your backup copy. All right? That's the only time you'll know when you actually created your entertainment account versus your meals and entertainment. Okay? But that is the rule here. When you're looking at merging two accounts together, you want to take the one you do not want, edit the information to appear exactly how you want it to look, or the account that you want it to look. You're going to click save and close. It's going to ask you to merge, and you say yes. Okay? Any questions in regards to that? Okay. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So, all right. So we talked about adding. Pretty straightforward, right? You just click new. Second is editing. We got to take a look at editing materials, right? It's pretty straightforward, right? Whatever you added in there, you click the edit button and you can change whatever you need to change. We talked about deleting, right? We remove only accounts that do not have any transactions or any account balances, any associations, right? If it's you created a new account and you never used it, you're okay to delete it.
Yeah.
And if you do have an account balance or you have used it, your only options is to either make it inactive or you merge the accounts together. Okay? And that's it for that. Okay? The last section that we have here for the chart of accounts is to reorder your account names and account types. So once again, we talked about how the order stands, right? It's always going to be according to account type. But what you can do here is that if you notice this little black dot right next to the account number, that is going to be, it's actually a shape of a diamond. So if you use the zoom key, let me go ahead and use my zoom key. Let's see if it will zoom it in. So yeah, even if you go zoom like that, it is a very small diamond shape. Okay? That is what's going to indicate to you that you can move your accounts. Now, what does it mean by moving accounts? So let's take a look. So if I wanted to, if I roll my mouse over on that little black diamond, I can move it. I can move my account down below. I can move this account up here. Okay? Now, the only rule here is you can only move it within the account type. So I can't drag this and say I want it above here. Oh, okay, I was still in my expense account, so let's do this one. So I want to drag this. Let's say I want to drag this into my income account. It will give you a message saying, no, you cannot do that because it's not the same account type. So here, you're limited on how you can move your information, okay? Once again, I can't move it above this because it's not the same account type. So in this case, this is not very practical or very useful in my opinion to just be able to move stuff just like that, because you can simply just go up to the very, very title of the bars and say, well, let's say I want my expenses, right? They already are in alphabetical order, but let's say because I moved things around, I want to reorder it. So if you come up to the very top right, it's going to highlight in blue. I want to reorganize it by the name. So I click that. Now it's in order from alphabetical order. So I have my automobile expense first, then my bad debt, then I have my depreciation, then my equipment. So all of those are going to be in order by alphabet. right? So this little black dot really doesn't really help you, but you're going to notice that little black dot's going to appear for every single list that you've created. You're going to see it appear for creating your customer list, right? You can move your customers up and down. You can also take a look in your vendors list, right? You can organize your vendors accordingly how you want to see it, okay? But you can't move it beyond its account type. So it has to be only moved within the account type, okay? So once again, overall, in all of this thing, no matter where you're at in your chart of accounts, it will always be in order by account type. Even if you have account numbers, that doesn't matter because, again, the idea is that you're constantly going to be upgrading, updating your chart of accounts. You will be encountering many transactions where you may need a new account and you're going to have to update it, and you can't rely on your account numbers to be able to help you. Okay. So any questions in regards to that? All right. And of course, to inactivate your account numbers, it's the same method, right? If you just go back up to your edits menu bar, you click that preferences, and you go to account, make sure that you're in your company, and make sure you just switch off use account numbers. Okay? And make sure, of course, to save your changes to your preferences, you're going to click that OK button, and it's just going to take it away. All right? So in most cases, for smaller companies, it's okay to not use account numbers just because you're such a small company. Your transaction list wouldn't be that big. But if you're a major corporation and you're using this, it probably be wise to use account numbers because you're probably going to have a billion transactions that exist, right? You might have to list out all of your, all of your employees and what benefits you give them, okay? You may have to also include a lot of other things, such as all these expenses that you have to encounter just to operate your business, okay? So it's going to be definitely useful as an accountant to use account numbers. But once again, it's literally up to you. Can you memorize all these account names versus a simple 5-digit account number? It really depends on how you do your accounting. Okay. Any questions? Okay. All right, let's quickly go over this real quick. So a few things that we're going to take a look at is step number 4, which is to enter in any open balances. So once again, when we're taking a look at editing our information, the only ones that you can edit information in regards to account balances will technically actually be most accounts that have registers. So that's one of the things I also have to talk to you guys about is that notice this. Your account registers are going to be your permanent accounts. Accounts that never close out at the end of a given period, right? Where your temporary accounts, they typically close out at the end of a given period because the use for closing out the accounts is to measure profitability. So in this case, any account that has a register is going to be your assets, your liabilities, and your equity, okay? These accounts will never, ever, ever close. So take this for example, right? Your bank account. If you close out your bank account, what does that tell everybody else?
Then maybe you have changed accounts or maybe you're out of business.
Correct. That is correct. Out of business. You're no longer operating. Okay? So that's one of the reasons why we say that, okay, well, it can never close at the end of the day. Same thing with your liabilities. I may pay off my liabilities, but if I say, okay, I'm going to close out my liability, those loan sharks are still going to come after you for every penny that you owe. So in this case, you can never close out your liabilities truly, because you can't just say, "Oh, hey, sorry, I'm not going to pay you $5,000." They'll come after you. They'll come after you no matter what. So you can't close your liabilities. So what those mean is that, notice this. You see these account balances, right? They have numbers associated with them. These are what we call registers. So remember our transaction. So once I double clicked on it, notice that you're going to get a ledger type looking type of form, right? You enter in just exactly like how we've talked about, but in this case, we need to be specific. The date, the information it's related to, the account number that I'm using, and the amount that is associated with this transaction. So that is that right there. Okay? So anything that's a permanent account, so your assets, your liabilities, and your equity will have registers. Okay? And anything that's an income or an expense account typically close out at the end of a given period, because your income and your expenses, if you actually subtract the two, you get your profitability. So this is the perfect way to measure your profitability. How so? Can you expect that every single month or every single day you're going to generate the same exact revenue? Can you predict that?
No.
No, because every day your sales will be different, right? It's like that one customer, your regular customer that comes in and gets a black coffee. One day they may actually decide to, hey, I want a Frappuccino today. You can never predict your sales. So that is one of the reasons why you can use it for profitability. Same thing with your expenses, besides your fixed expenses like your rent, right? You have other expenses. Maybe this month it's the month of July, right? Maybe I want to throw in some marketing. I want to throw some advertising saying that I have a summer blowout sale, or even a, July 4th sale. So therefore this month or month of July, I can incur a very high amount of advertising expense. Whereas in August, there's no holiday in August. So what holiday can I spend for marketing? Nothing, right? Your expenses will vary month to month or day to day, right? Even your rent expense, right? Maybe last month my last rent was $1,500, and then boom, it says, oh, the next time you sign your contract, it's going to be $1,700. So therefore, you can never predict your expenses nor your income. So that's why they close out at the end of the given period, is because it's a perfect way to measure your monthly expenses, your monthly income, right? It's a perfect way to be able to pinpoint exactly where your business is growing or where your business is, taking a loss. So they close out at the end of the given period. And notice this, they don't have an account balances. They don't have an account balance at all. Okay? Only your permanent accounts do, because they always must stay open. Okay? So with that being said, one thing that you can do too with those accounts that do have registers, so such as my checking account, if I go ahead and right click and edit it, notice this, it's a little different than what we normally do for our expense account. There's a little more details, right? You can set an opening balance. Now, once again, not the best way to do it, okay? I just wanted to show you that. So the best way to do it is to actually get a company to provide you their last statement for their trial balance. Is usually general rule of thumb, so opening balances. So I just talked about this. So once again, general rule of thumb is that you should actually get a copy of a trial balance from the previous month, okay, before you could do this. And this is where I was talking about chapter 13 is where we enter in a journal, okay? So I'll briefly show it to you now, but it's not definitely something that you're going to need to know. for setting up, right? Because chapter 13 happens after chapter 12, right? But if you go to company, right, and you go ahead and click make a journal entry, you're going to see this. It's going to be a standard general journal, okay, where you enter in your account names, right? The date is obviously right there. You're going to enter in the list of all your accounts, and you're going to associate which ones have debits and which ones have credits. That is the best way to enter in all your open balances, okay? Now, that's if you are a pre-existing company. Now, obviously, if you're going to start a company from scratch, you're not going to have any open balances, okay? Okay. So once again, we'll talk about journalizing transactions in chapter 13. 13. So this is going to be hold off to the back burner. All you need to know is that when you if you are a pre-existing company, the best way to enter in all your open balances is by having the company's trial balance, okay? Because that's going to guarantee what you need to start off with. Now, of course, you can't just enter inventory as 7,158, because what if you sell more than one item? Then that's not going to reflect very well. So that's why you have other instances where you need to update your inventory, which is step number 7 or 8, and enter in your bills. That's the general rule of thumb too, is you can't just type in accounts payable is going to reflect this, right? Because you don't know who's going to owe you the money. You don't know, exactly, and you don't know how much each person owes you the money. So the best rule of thumb is to enter in every single bill up to the date that you are starting your company with, okay? Same thing with your customers. Enter in any invoice that you have customers that are outstanding that owe you money. You want to make sure that you tailor them, because, again, if you don't, they're not, when you actually receive a payment, it's not going to make any associations. And we'll talk about this again in chapter 2, okay? So that's just the general rule of thumb, is that you should be entering in everything one at a time. Now, once again, I've already mentioned this in the very beginning of class. For steps 4 through 12 is going to be a combination of everything that you will learn in this class, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and skip forward to the question. So again, we jumped ahead and we took a look at entering in a new user, creating a user and an account. Okay, and that's it. All right. So any questions in regards to anything that we learned in chapter 12? It was a lot. Anybody?
No question.
Okay. If there are no questions, oops, about to cough here. So if there's no extra questions, let's go ahead and dive right into the chapter 12 review questions, okay? So here we're going to go ahead and answer. So this is your quiz questions that you do in class, right? I ask you these questions and we're just going to give you the credit in class, okay? So let's take a look at question number 1, okay? All right. Your company has decided to begin using QuickBooks, okay, at the beginning of the 2019 calendar year, okay? So which is also known as a fiscal year. So which is the best start date for this company?
C.
See?
C, December 31st of 2018. Excellent. That is correct. Always the last day of your previous year is the best date. Good. Question number 2. Okay. The chapter suggests that the best way to set up AR, which is accounts receivable, and accounts payable, okay, balances in QuickBooks is to
D.
okay. Anybody else want to guess?
D.
Okay. Okay. So we got 2 Ds. Anybody else? All right, let's go over every single one. Okay, so A says enter in the total amount of AR and AP on a general journal. Now remember, in this case, if we just generalize, right, we just give a whole entire amount of accounts receivable and accounts payable. Do we know who owe us the money and who and how much we owe to other people?
No.
No. So A can't be right. B says enter in the balances of each account by editing the account in the chart of accounts. Now, once again, that's the same thing, right? If we enter in accounts receivable that it's a big lump sum money, do we know who owes us the money?
No.
No. C says use a special account called the accounts receivable setup for accounts payable. Okay. To record the opening balances. Is there a special account called the AR setup?
No.
No. So D is the correct answer. You're going to be entering separate invoices and separate bills for each accounts receivable and accounts payable account. Okay. Number 3, setting up a company file does not include what?
E.
Okay. Anybody else?
I would say A.
D?
A. A.
A?
B.
Okay, we got B. Anybody else?
I say D.
D. Okay, let's take a look at this. So again, when setting up a company file, it does not include, let's see, A. Does it ask you to obtain a business license?
No.
No.
Absolutely not. Let's go ahead and go through the answer. Does it ask you to select the appropriate chart of accounts that you could potentially use for account types that could be used for the business?
Yep.
Yes, it does. C. What about adding accounts to the chart of accounts?
Yep. We can add.
Yes.
Yes, you can add. What about D? Entering invoices.
Yep.
Yes, so this is tailored towards the 12 steps to set up your company file. Okay? Not the initial setup. Okay? The easy step interview is part of the company setting up your company file, but these 3 things are going to be C and D are going to be the 3 things that you are asked to do when setting up your company file. A is definitely not one of them. No, it doesn't ask you to apply for a business license whatsoever.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 4, okay? A good example of a liability account is, okay, so remember what a liability is.
Account payable.
Accounts payable. Good. D, accounts payable, right? Inventory, right? We will learn that it's an asset. Accounts receivable is what people owe to us. So customers that owe us money. So that's going to be considered an asset. And then advertising is going to be considered as an expense. So good. Accounts payable is what we owe to other people. Number 5, to ensure the accuracy of the information entered into the opening during the setup is important to, it is important to okay, so the question is to ensure the accuracy of the information entered during the setup, it is important to
Start at the beginning of the fiscal year.
that is correct. Yes. Yes. You don't need to know your retained earnings because you can run a report for that. Verify that your trial balance matches the other provided by your accountant. Okay, so B could be somewhat an answer. D says know everything up there is to know about accounting. Once again, QuickBooks is not meant for accounting. It's meant for taxes, okay? You can use it as an accounting application because it does keep track of your businesses. But what it's primarily geared towards, it's like you don't need to know accounting in order to use QuickBooks. So C is the correct answer. You do need to begin at the beginning of your fiscal year to ensure the accuracy of your information. That is correct. All right. So good job, everybody. Any questions in regards to chapter 12?